and they were roommates.
God, they were roommates.
Hello, Roomies, and welcome back to another episode of And We Were Roommates. We've got Kaylee, Meaghan, and Courtney here, ready to chat some recent Grammy gossip, a little bit of Black History Month goings on. We're recording on Wednesday, February 7th, so we're just a couple days past the Grammys, and we have some feelings. But
So
first,
go make your tea, and let's get
make your
into
tea,
it.
pop some popcorn. First, we'll do a little check-in. How are the Roomies doing this week?
Surviving.
I think that's what we say every week, but truly.
Yeah, honestly. I'm honestly doing okay this week. I have I've been getting organized with things, so I feel really good. The only thing that I'm really upset about is that I have these shelves that I've been putting up on my wall, and I've tried everything. I've tried like hooks, I've tried tape, like double-sided adhesive, like nothing works to keep these fucking shelves on the wall. So at this point, I'm gonna have to like bring out the nails and the hammer.
You should look into like what's it called, like museum tack or museum putty or something. It's like it's almost like, you know, like the blue tack that all you see in school. It's that, but it's like museum quality. So it's supposed to be, I would check into it depending on like if it will peel paint or not, but it should like leave no damage, and I know that they should be able to like carry some weight.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll look into that for sure, because I'm getting real sick of this.
Like, I just want to hang shelves on my wall.
Yeah, and they look so cute. They were like up for a good like maybe week or so, and then all of a sudden it was just like no, bye, and they're down. So it is very frustrating. So yeah, either I'll look into the museum tape, or I'll have like my brother or something come over and nail it, because I'm really awful at like making holes in walls. I'm really bad at it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong when I hammer things, but I'm doing them wrong.
You know, you can only girl boss so much.
I know.
Or you need a little help, and that's okay.
My girl boss too close to the sun. How's your week been going, Meaghan?
Not too bad. I'm currently reading The Good House by Tananarive Due, which has been phenomenal. It's real good. I'm very excited to see how it ends. I'm almost halfway through it. And then we got the trailer for A Quiet Place Day 1 today, which was amazing. I shed a couple tears. I was so like scared because you guys know, I don't jump and I don't yell when I get scared. My eyes just water really bad. And so watching it, like specifically the moment in the trailer when is it the Golden Gate Bridge that just is on fire and collapses, like just terrifying. I felt like I was in a Jordan Peele movie because I just had like this single tear run down my face. It was so good. I'm so freaking excited for that. So I'm just trying to ride the high of all the fun pop culture things that I'm excited for. And Lisa Frankenstein has been getting rave reviews in the horror community. So I think I'm going to take myself to see that on Valentine's Day, just to like get out of the house. And it's set in the same world as Jennifer's Body, which I watched today while I was working, was like my background one, which is a classic. So yeah, just been doing all my spooky stuff that I love.
Love it.
But very excited to talk Grammys and pop culture.
Yeah, I have genuinely a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions.
Yeah. The three of us generally cover like similar likes and dislikes of music. So we're all usually in agreement on like what new music we're listening to, what people we are rooting for at award shows. This last weekend, our like favorite girl SZA was performing at the show. She was nominated for a lot of big awards, and so we were like actively watching or tracking it, and we were a little disappointed,
to say the least.
To say the least.
To say the least, yeah. I think it kind of just boils down to disappointment, but also kind of like where it's like okay, I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed, you know, where it's like you couldn't even feel like outraged about it. You're just like, damn.
At this point, like,
yeah, at this point, because it just didn't feel like it was gonna happen anyway. And I would have been surprised if it did. I would have been super happy if it did because it deserved it. But it's just like, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It's literally that meme of disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah.
Like 90s laser phone.
And I think it's hard because nowadays with like award shows and things like that, I feel like because of how whoever, you know, the Academy or, you know, the recording studio, whatever it is for like the Oscars and the Grammys, like we know what they're going to do before the shows even happen. And so there's times for me where I'm like, why am I even going to watch it? Like they posted the nominees. I can tell you with pretty solid certainty what's going to take home the prizes. Because it's the same type of films every year that they give the awards to. It's the same type of stuff. And, like, I think something that we've talked about is just, like, the lack of diversity between, like, the music industry and the film industry that we're tired of seeing. And
yeah, I had this... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying they even had that whole Oscars so white kind of like hashtag movement in the past, and you would think that things would kind of shift a bit more, and they have done small things to shift it. But the Golden Globes, like the Emmys, like other awards are just... It's very telling when you look at the nominees and you look at who's winning what, and it does not look good. I'm just saying.
Well, the fact that like when both Quinta and Io won, was it at the Emmys or the Golden Globes, or is that the same one?
That was the Emmys.
Okay, and it was like the first time in over 10 years that two Black women had won like two highly regarded awards, and I was like, why is 10 years over a decade? What do you mean? Like, what?
Like, are you saying that there hasn't been an actress deserving of this in that long? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's very strange. And it's sorry, Marvel's doing stuff. But yeah, like even looking at SZA and the Album of the Year award, SZA's album, let's just drop some statistics. It has reached every milestone that it could possibly have reached. It was on the Billboard 200. It topped it for 10 weeks, which is longer than any other Album of the Year nominees. It's done just extremely well, the album in general. It sold well. It's been regarded as some of her best work, some of the best work. And so it's real interesting when people kind of say like, oh, well, you know, this album was just better, because by every single metric, it was not better, you know?
Yeah. At what point, like, when you think about, you know, the Oscars, for example, they're looking for like high art, meaningful, poignant, whatever. And but they don't necessarily look at like box office measures, right? And it's like, I think at the Grammys, they look for similar things. And it's like, but also, especially with music and streaming nowadays, that shit is important. The numbers, the like the radio singles that come out of it, you know,
the cultural impact of it all really is very important.
And too, like, you can even think about the trends that come from the songs now on TikTok and Instagram. It's like Kill Bill was a huge song because people did like makeup moves or dance moves. Like, it's so much more than just like putting out a CD. It's also
Yeah.
used in so many different ways. And to see an album like SOS, which came out like a year ago,
Yeah.
do what it did, culturally impact not just one particular group of people, but like the world.
Yeah.
In people could better relate to the lyrics and the emotions and what Solana like wanted to portray in the album, and to go for the hot topic instead was like
It's a cop out.
hurt my soul. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like, and I will be completely honest, people can, if you're Swiftie fans, you can come for me if you want. I have not listened to Midnights.
Me neither.
Don't know the last time I listened to a Taylor album all the way through. Probably Fearless Days. No, that's not true. Our roommate, when 1989 came out, our roommate was a Swiftie. So I listened to 1989 a lot when it was my roommate's turn to, like, have control over the music we listened to in our dorm room. So I did listen to that freshman year. However, there is something on SOS for everyone. The range in the music on that album is so exquisite, where I feel like every song that I hear from Taylor is very similar. The same kind of vibe. Where you're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that Snooze and F2F are the same. Like, those songs, different vibes. Different days of the week, I will vibe to both of them depending on the mood. There is something on that album for every mood, everything you're doing, every time. Yeah. It's so good.
She's rapping, and then it's like rock, and then it's some pop on there. There's definitely some R&B. Like, there's a lot on that album that she's doing. And it just is so, I guess it's frustrating to see it's a Black woman to like see this woman that's embracing and doing all these genres and attracting like many people of many cultures, and have them still lose to something that's been doing the same exact like formulaic kind of music for years now, and has been benefiting from that, doing it years. Like, it's no different. There's no change. There's no growth I don't see. Whereas, like, you can take this album and you can take SZA's previous album, Control, and clearly see that there was, like, an incredible amount of, like, change and growth, and just, it just shows how, like, emotion, and it just shows how, like, complex she's as an artist. And, like we are SZA fans, like, don't get us wrong, but I used to be a Swiftie. Like, I used to be a hardcore Swiftie back in the day. You couldn't tell me anything about her. I was very much like, that's my girl, she my ride or die. But I just started like changing. I still listen to some Taylor Swift songs, like the old school stuff that I used to really love. Have like good memories for me. And they're good. And I just don't like her recent stuff. I feel like it's just gotten very pop and very just like ABC kind of lyrics, where it isn't showing any type of complexity or anything. And obviously I've not listened to her new stuff, so like I'll take that with a grain of salt, you know, because maybe she has some cool stuff that's not as poppy and formulaic as like we see in the mainstream. Maybe I'm giving her that. But even a lot of Swifties even say that Midnights, this album, is not her best work. It's one of her worst albums.
Well,
even Swifties say that.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, clearly, you know, who on the Academy is a Chiefs fan? You know, who in the Academy is like, went to the Eras tour with their kids, watched the movie in the theaters. It's telling that a woman who's 33 years old makes music that sounds closer to Olivia Rodrigo than Adele.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
I saw that comparison on Twitter today, and I thought that was really fascinating because Taylor claimed she was growing up and going through this evolution, especially once Reputation came out. And that's when I stopped listening, was because like that album did not hit for me. I thought it was childish. I don't think it was like it had any depth to it.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, she's growing up, she's making like darker music, she's starting to use curse words, she's singing about alcohol now. And it's like, but it's still the same formula. She's still playing the innocent white girl next door.
Yeah.
And winning you over. And two, she used it to capitalize off of the success of Kanye West, which he's like, that's a no-go for me. He's clearly going through stuff. I'm not a Kanye fan anymore either. But like the whole feud about his song Famous, she used to gain more power. And sure, like
her PR management team, they are nonstop.
Give them their flowers.
Work.
Yeah.
Like
they keep
24/7 they are up and working.
But it was
and I think that's mostly kind of her allure, is because she is everywhere. Because it's like, you don't have to be, when you have, I'm trying not to be rude, but when you have the talent, you don't have to constantly, when you have the talent, you don't have to constantly be shoved down everyone's throat. But to compensate for, her maybe not being the best vocalist, or the best, songwriter out right now, they are making her like into a huge like spectacle. And you can see, like, you can track the trajectory of her career, and it all started in that moment with Kanye West, when he went up on stage and he said what he said, which was kind of true at the time. But me as a Swiftie watching it at home, I was like, oh damn, I really feel bad for her. Because I really liked that album, and I felt like that was definitely something that was deserving of a win. I'm forgetting what album it was. I think it was probably like Fearless or something.
I think that was so. Fearless.
Yeah, because it was early on. So after that, she stayed, I think she was 19 when that happened. And I feel like after that, her growth was officially cut off. And I feel like people still look at her as this 19-year-old girl who is trying to survive out here and trying to learn what it's like to be an adult. And it's like, no, hun, you are 34 years old. Adele is 1 year older than you. And she makes music that just transcends genres. It transcends so much. Like, that woman is...
I love Adele.
Yeah, when you look at her lyrics and what she's writing about, and then
Adele,
compare
if you're
it...
listening, please.
Adele.
Come through.
Come through. When you look at Adele's lyrics and just her tone and her songs, and like look at Taylor Swift's, and obviously like, they're two different women with two different experiences, right? But you can just tell the maturity levels are just not there. And I think ever since that Kanye West moment, I saw a tweet and it was just like, white people in the industry have been making up for that moment, making it up to her ever since, and has kind of catapulted her into being this America's sweetheart, kind of like infantilized figure when she is a grown woman, like singing about her cat being Karma. And we're not going to award that. Like, let's not keep awarding this mediocrity. When you look back, Taylor Swift has 4 Album of the Year awards. 4.
She's the only one.
She's the only one. Michael Jackson, which, however you feel about him, is one of the greatest like entertainers of all time.
Facts.
He only has 1, and that was given to him grudgingly. You think of a lot of the classic albums that he's made. None. Prince doesn't have any. Mariah Carey, Beyonce doesn't have any.
Beyonce.
Dude, Mariah Carey She has 5 Grammys, and she was nominated.
5?
She's only 5.
Miss Mariah? Oh, no.
Celine Dion only have 5. But Mariah Carey has 34 nominations. She's been nominated 34 times.
Wow.
And has only won 5. And she's one of the best vocalists of our generation, aside from Whitney Houston. God rest her soul. But it's just kind of looking at it, and it's like, okay, you're just, as a Black person, it feels like, okay, you're playing in our face right now.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing in our face.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think I was trying to think, because I thought about it earlier and I totally meant to look it up and find it, but it was a couple of years ago, and I want to say that it was a Tyler, the Creator album, but I could be very much wrong in that, but that it was the whole conversation of like the R&B category basically just being the Black category, and so that's what everyone was put under, and it's like, but this album is not that at all.
Right.
I want to say it was his album, but I could be mistaken. And people were upset of like, why is he in this category and not in the pop category? Like, what is why?
Or I think he was in the.
I think he's in the rap.
I think he was in the rap category, and he should have been in like the R&B or pop category. For sure, the R&B probably category. But yeah, it's even what Jay-Z said. I think he had a speech where he was being honored at the Grammys, and he mentioned obviously Beyoncé being the most awarded female, just person awarded. Actually, awarded person in Grammy history, and still not having an album of the year. But he also mentioned that he thinks, and a lot of people think, that they put artists in the wrong categories. He was like, you guys, you're gonna be real mad at me, but like some of y'all are in the wrong categories. And it's 100% fact, because they always lump every single Black person into the R&B or the rap hip hop categories. And coincidentally, those aren't the ones that are even televised on the show, which is, it's been years and years where it's not been televised, which is, I think, a huge cop out and a waste of time for a lot of people. But yeah, the categories are like, a lot of SZA's songs are, I think she had one with the Phoebe Bridgers. Is it Phoebe Bridgers? Yeah. And that was in, I think, an R&B kind of bass category. And I was like, that one's definitely alternative.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not even seen.
Yeah, it needs to, they needed an overhaul on,
I don't know, the metrics.
of like, what is going on? And a lot of what I've seen people say is that Taylor Swift won because she was being awarded for the Eras Tour and not for Midnight's, which I agree with, because she has, been catapulted into this industry lead person and such a big name, because I think that her team, it reminds me of the line, like, all publicity is good publicity, or like there's no such thing as bad publicity or whatever. And it's interesting because I remember when she started dating Travis Kelce, and I saw this conspiracy theory that it was around the time where people were looking into specifically like the Kardashians, Taylor Swift, like big people and their private jet usage. And so people suspect that they got Taylor in with a football player so that if you typed in anything like Taylor Swift jet related, it would pull up the NFL. Because there's a team, there's the Jets. Yeah. And so it would pull up her and all of this relationship stuff, which of course we have made them into like a royal couple, which I don't understand. I feel like I'm watching when I would be back in England and people would be talking about like the royal family, and all of my friends in the UK were like, fucking hate them. Can't deal with it. Like, and I was like, yeah, it's such a big thing in America. Like, people are so obsessed with the, like, people skipped work to watch the royal wedding. Like, they were like, fuck the royals. Like, all this stuff, like, they're a nuisance. They don't do anything, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I feel that same sentiment about the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why do we
Yeah, like,
care? What are we doing?
I'm definitely like not watching the Super Bowl because I just don't want to watch something being made about this relationship when literally it's the Super Bowl. But they're just gonna keep, passing over
I
the
will tune in for
cameras.
Usher, baby.
Yeah, that's
I want to see
of
Usher.
course.
And hopefully,
That's
Lil Jon.
Oh my gosh, I hope so.
oh, it's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good one. If you guys tune in, definitely tune in for Usher only.
Yeah, don't miss out on
Yes.
Usher.
As an avid NFL consumer, which like every other corporation, bad people, whatever, I watch it. It was fucking exhausting to deal with Taylor. And
She doesn't even go here.
she like
Right.
it hurts because I know it brought in a lot of new football viewers. I think it's really cool that she helped spread the game to a demographic that is actually a bigger watcher than people expect, but brought in like women our age to watch football that never would have understood it. I mean, by the end of the season, they were making fan edits of Travis's brother when he announced his retirement. Like,
yikes!
These people are now in it. But I had Travis Kelce on my fantasy team, and I got more alerts about his stats when she was there, or is she gonna make it, or whatever, than actually like his gameplay ability. And I was like, get it out of my fantasies. I don't even like. So it's been truly overwhelming, the Taylor Swift content, and especially if you think about, she already put out albums pretty consistently. I'd say every 18 months.
Yeah.
But then you mix in all of her Taylor's version stuff, which I think is a really empowering move. She said, "Fuck you, Scooter Braun. This is my work of art, and I'm gonna do it to like make it my own." However, it's been nonstop Taylor Swift since probably 2018 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Between
Ever since
music
Kanye
and whatever else constant
Ever
nonsense.
since the Kanye moment. I remember that moment so vividly because my mom had no idea who she was at that point. And that was when we were safe as a society.
Like,
she was like, "Oh, that's the girl you listen to." And I was like, "Yeah, it's Taylor Swift, Mom." And ever since then, she's been everywhere, constantly making up for that moment. And when you think about pop stars, right, in the history of, just pop music, you think of people like Madonna, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and I'm sorry, but she's not making music up to that level. She's no Britney.
Mm-hmm. No.
And also when you look at their kind of ability to have just cross-cultural appeal is insane. As a little black girl in South Central, I had Britney Spears' album and I was rocking that.
Yes.
I was loving it on my little Walkman. Like I played it all the time. But I don't think like Taylor Swift has cross-cultural or even like just any appeal to other people outside of her demographic, which is just teenage and young adult white women.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even like upper class women, and like continuing to at this age sing about like being a princess, finding her prince, like certain terminology that might work sometimes, but the fact it's used all the time, just like seeing yourself as this higher than others, it's people don't relate to that after a while, or maybe at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the demographic is mainly, millennial white women.
Mm-hmm.
And little kids.
And little kids, because she's now been around so long. Like, people's kids are into it.
It's like if you look at like a Beyoncé show or just any other show from like one of the biggest artists that they people claim are the biggest artists, you look at their stadiums, you look at their audiences, and they're all just like people from all over, you know. Beyonce has like one of the biggest cross-cultural reaches ever. She has people in the Philippines, you know, becoming their national anthem is listed.
Love.
I love it. Do a great job. But yeah, she has cross-cultural appeal. Every single person on this planet knows her songs, has an opinion of her songs, and that's super important, right? And I'm thinking like people always love to compare the two, and it's really like there's no comparison there because one person is a worldwide like phenomenon and another person is famous in a particular demographic and famous for being famous more than the music. Like I don't know anyone in the hood who just is like, let's put on that Taylor Swift. I think they did an interview with like one of the teams, I forget what team it was, like an NFL team, and they're like, what's your favorite Taylor Swift song? And none of them like knew anything besides just like, you know, her normal kind of like shake it off
Big radio stuff. Yeah.
And the comments were so mad, and they're like, what do you think these guys would say? You think they're gonna come out and be like, oh, I love this one? Like, no, this is a team full of one, grown men, and two, mostly African American men. They're not gonna know Taylor Swift. They don't know her. And that's just so wild because with all the greatest pop stars of our, generation, like you know they music, even if it's like not your thing, you still know a couple songs. And when they went through and asked them, their favorite Beyonce song, of course they had tons. But, it's just crazy that she's constantly being in that like conversation of greatest of all time or biggest stars, because it's like it's the proof's not in the pudding. You have to be able to reach every single demographic to be the biggest star, and she just doesn't. And I also disagree with like counting it as her year is why they're making it album of the year, because it's not based, it needs to be based on the goddamn album. The Eras tour was a culmination of her different eras and all of her music. She wasn't performing just that album, so it shouldn't be based on that at all. It should be based on the
and when I saw people getting ready, doing all their outfits, I don't think I saw anyone dressing as the Midnight's era.
No.
So
I don't know
what are we doing here when that wasn't even a favorite era. But I was going to say, I think Michael Scott said it best when he said, I am Beyonce always. Because I don't, as a white woman, I don't relate to Taylor Swift. I feel like there is nothing relatable between the things I have been through versus the life that she has experienced. I
feel like you would relate more to Lemonade right now.
Fact.
Yes.
100%. Like fucking Lemonade, SOS, the Adele album, like, and then it reminds me, I think it was a TikTok that Kaylee sent. I want to say it was a TikTok that one of you guys sent me, or like sent in our group chat. And it was the fact that like you can ask any black person, be like, okay, who are your like favorite? Wow. I think I just had a stroke. 5 favorite like white artists, and they can name you 10. But if you ask white people who were your 5 favorite black artists, they're gonna have a hard time picking 5. They're gonna have a hard time coming up with any, because they choose, like, we can choose not to listen to that. We can like the pop hits that are on the radio. Like just recently, I feel like in the last time, probably around the time we were in college, we finally started getting more rap, R&B on pop radio.
Yeah.
Even then,
Definitely.
it's like, the not my favorite stuff of Drake. Like, it's like, oh, this song's good, but when you listen to the album, like, this song should be the one on the radio, but it's not because it's more explicit or whatever. And then it's the differences of, like, what is seen based on the, like, whitewashing of culture, like what's seen as culturally acceptable to put on and like play and promote, versus like if I want to listen to certain stuff, I have to change it to the like R&B station, or I have to go look for it, or I just have it on my phone. Like I bought SOS as soon as it came out because I was like, I know I'm gonna want to listen to this all the time. Like, and I'm home most of the time, so I don't do Spotify Premium anymore unless I'm like traveling. Then I'll get it for a month or whatever. But and I think that makes it really hard, because I remember I saw that TikTok and I was like, oh my gosh, like, please, like, I know I can pick 5. And I was like, okay, obviously SZA, like Beyonce, Leon Bridges, Ella Fitzgerald. I went through a huge Ella Fitzgerald, like, thing in high school, listening to, like, all of that. Yeah, Megan Thee Stallion. And then I was like, okay, no, like, I know I could be better with my music engagement, but I can give you at least 10, like, easy, that I listen to.
It's really interesting, too, because we always talk, like, in the Black community, at least, about cross-cultural kind of appeals. And with a lot of our artists, Black artists, it's always like, okay, but you know you've made it when you can have white people play your music. And that's always kind of the benchmark, is to make that cross-cultural appeal. And it's really, like, I guess not fair that a lot of artists can make it, like Taylor Swift can make it without winning the support of any other culture, any other race.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we have to, again, try 10 times as hard to branch over. And even if you do branch over, like a J. Cole, like a Drake, you're automatically looked as down as less of a artist or less of a rapper, because it's like, oh, well, you're pop now. You're on the pop charts. You're whitewashed, this and that. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless you're seeking it out, it's really difficult to connect with new Black artists, because a lot of them are still trying and still, you know, fighting to have that cross-cultural kind of effect and get their radio plays on, you know, obviously like white radio stations. Like, it's really difficult. And I think what's really wild is that SZA has done that. She's made it to the mainstream. You know, she was this small kind of like artist for a long time. You know, even that, you can kind of argue that Control was even kind of a smaller thing. But now, like, she's blown up. I know, not for us, honestly. But, you know, like, now she's made it to the mainstream. She's crossed over fully. She's on the pop stations. She's trending constantly on TikTok. Little white girls are using her little sounds, you know, using her music for their stuff. It's wild. Like, you've completely crossed over. Even Beyonce as well, completely crossed over. And they're still not being honored the way they should be honored. And it's like, well, what's the point of fighting this hard if we're still not gonna succeed or get what we earned?
Yep.
And I think I've got like 2 points off of that, because I think it relates to other people as well. Like, so one, this last weekend, we saw Tracy Chapman sing with Luke Combs.
Snaps.
And Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, like, has found to come up again because a white man sang a country song and white people found it.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, hey, by the way, like, this was written by a queer Black woman. So, like, props to her. She finally won a Billboard award. She got to perform at the Grammys. But it's like you just said, Courtney, it had to find a white voice to find its crowd. And of course the song is 35 years old. So it's finding a new generation. But at the same time, like, if you were to put that on I'm not even sure what station you would put it on, but if you were just to put Tracy's version of that song on the radio, white people aren't going to tune in. They're not going to be like, oh, that's my guy Luke Combs.
Yeah.
It's like, it took Luke to kind of revamp the song, give Tracy her flowers. And it's like, yeah, that performance was powerful to see Tracy get that, but also, like, it shouldn't take a white dude next to her to have this happen.
Reminds me of Elvis.
There's so many things. We could talk a whole episode about Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
like
thought-
you make a really good point there, because that song was humongous when it came out,
Yeah.
and then it kind of like went into obscurity, and she was able to cross over with that song, but then, you know, obviously faded down a bit more.
Yeah.
But it took a white person to bring her out again and make the song more relevant and popular when it's an iconic song.
And it's like a song about the cycle of poverty as a Black person, like in this country.
Yeah.
And people are idolizing it, seeing it as a love song, seeing it as
crazy,
like an inspirational song. It's like, no, she's singing about her trauma, and you're still not picking up on it.
Yeah, and the fact that Luke Combs did a cover of it is weird too.
It's
but
wild.
It's that blissful ignorance that white people love to just cling on to.
So I think that like happening and then like the swift takeover is interesting. But then last year, when Harry Styles won Album of the Year over Beyonce, I love Harry. He's like the love of my life.
It was a wild time.
In his speech, he said, "This doesn't happen to people like me," and that was wild. That
hurt.
Yeah, it's like, you're a white man. It does happen to you. Like,
yeah,
it should have been happening to your colleagues who were in the category with you instead. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
I love that album. I think, though, like, Beyonce should win everything she's ever nominated for and then some. And for him to say, for him to say something like that, it's like, you're not getting it, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After her losing her 4th Album of the Year award.
Album of the Year, and people are like, no, it's because she's got writers and she's using samples and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the name of the album is Renaissance. It's literally giving a second life to music that like helped
popularized by Black gay culture.
Yeah. Do you understand what this word means? If you need a dictionary, we can supply it.
Like,
let's spell it out.
Yeah, just like that kind of hurt that, I mean, people write speeches or don't write speeches or whatever, but like, but you gotta read the room.
You gotta, it's like, look at the audience here.
And when Adele won over Beyonce, she went up and was like, I can't accept this. Like, Lemonade was everything. Beyonce is everything. Like, and specifically shouted her out and thanked her for everything that she has done for the music industry. And it's like, and some people may say that's pandering or whatever. I don't think so. I think that it's lovely in those moments to meet, the people who have inspired you and the people who have pushed you to write things. And I think Beyonce is that for 90% of the people who are at the Grammys, especially, the new artists that are around our age who grew up I played the Destiny's Child album until it fell apart in my Walkman.
Yes. I know, last night I had so many scratches on that one.
Yeah, like I've been around, like I did when I was in karate. I did a karate whole thing to Survivor. That song was
That's something
shit.
That we really should talk about.
We need to unpack that.
We really need to unpack that.
I wish I could watch it.
Episode. We're going to be live.
I don't think it was recorded or anything. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what it was, what we were doing, but I was like, they were like, you can pick your own music, and I was like, I know exactly what song. And I was in.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Well, baby Meaghan.
Megan's mom, if you're listening.
And I think that was about how old I was, like 5th or 6th grade. Survivor by Destiny's Child. Still a fucking jam.
It is. It's the bridge with Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams.
Yeah, Megan's mom needs to be on the pod, and we need to get her story, her point of view of this.
I don't know if we have video of it. I'll have to see, but
we need it. Even looking at her at the Grammys, she was there. Obviously for her husband Jay-Z being nominated for getting that award or whatever. There was a line to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Beyonce meet and greet.
Yeah, it was a Beyonce meet and greet. There was like a line, wrapped around the entire like ballroom to meet her and to take a picture with her. She is the celebrity to celebrities.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I don't see that line happening for Taylor or for like any other people, honestly.
No.
She is the celebrity for celebrities.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane. Her impact, her legacy, everything is like incomparable. And I really liked what Jay-Z said, because he wasn't going to let people forget that even by the Recording Academy's own metrics, she should have won this award 1,000 times over. But for some reason, it eludes her when she makes these complete bodies of art that are so cohesive. They tell a story. They're mostly, like, a lot of them came with, like, visual albums. She was the first to pioneer a visual album. I remember B-Day came out, and I was like, oh, my gosh.
Oh, what a time.
I mean,
it's
changed the days. Like, the industry changed the day music was released during the week because of her surprise self-titled.
Yeah.
Like, she dropped that album. What was that? Like, I want to say sophomore year of college.
I think it was freshman
earlier.
year. I think it was freshman year of college.
Yeah, I think it was earlier.
Maybe even earlier. Yeah, she just, like, dropped a surprise album, and everyone was like, all right, Thursday nights now is when we drop music.
Yeah.
Like, no,
she changed the entire... Yeah, she changed the entire way music was distributed. She changed the entire way. Like, she changed everything. Like, she's a trendsetter, and she is the standard, pretty much. She's the standard. Everything that is everything is compared to Beyonce because she's done everything. She's won every award that you can, like, win for music, except Album of the Year. And she's constantly, like, what people aspire to be. Like, if you're in the music industry and Beyonce's not on your list of, like, people you look up to or people who inspire you, then you're doing something wrong.
Megan's right.
So,
Michael Scott did say it best.
Yeah.
He knew. He knows.
Always. Yeah. But, I do love that Jay-Z kind of, like,
he put people on blast.
He really did.
And
I love that because it really needs to be said that we can get the numbers, we can generate cultural movements. Like, dude, the Renaissance movement was absolutely bananas.
So amazing.
Insane.
They can Black women can outperform, they can out-talent. We can do absolutely everything and still be placed underneath or in the same conversation with white mediocrity. Because it's an insult to Beyonce that she is even being compared to or even in the same conversation as someone like Taylor Swift.
She needs
and that's
her own
no
category.
shade. Like, the only person she's competing with is like Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston, and they're gone.
Or herself.
Or herself.
There's no one else at her level. Except for her.
Beyonce could sing Love Story, but Taylor Swift couldn't sing Crazy in Love.
I would love Beyonce to sing Love Story.
She could knock any of those songs out of the water, and Taylor couldn't even touch any
of those notes.
I don't even want to see it.
It would be tragic.
It would be terrible.
I really think that she should be compared to some of the pop girlies out that are younger, like Olivia Rodrigo. I feel like they have very comparable writing styles and song styles.
I like Olivia Rodrigo.
And fan bases.
Yeah, and fan bases, for sure. So I feel like that's more her speed. But even I wouldn't even compare Miley to Taylor because Miley's albums have all been so varied and different, and
Yeah.
you can really see like her growth in them. It's just insane.
Well, and I feel like she challenges herself, which is fun to
Yeah.
see. Like, it's not only growth, it's like challenging yourself to try something new. Where I feel like Taylor knows she doesn't have to, so why? Why make it difficult or harder when she can just do the same couple things that she normally does? Whereas I was going to bring that up when I was talking about the SZA album, because it's like, yeah, it shows growth, but it also shows that she's willing to challenge herself and try new things and like fully commit to a different style just to give it a shot. And it played out. You cannot tell. There's not a skippable song on SOS.
Nope.
Yeah.
If I'm in the car with someone and they want to skip a song, I'm pulling over. They're getting out of the car.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely
You're not even stopping. You're not stopping.
That's
You're
true.
just
I'm not stopping.
tuck and roll.
I'm just ejector seat that bitch right out of there.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, SZA and Paramore are collabing.
I am so
It goes to show
excited.
you.
That's
It goes to show you the range. Like, look at the range.
I think, too, going back a tiny bit, we were actually talking before we, like, started recording about, I mean, if we think about, like, Beyonce's tour compared to Taylor Swift's tour and the people that they collaborate with, the people who were brought out as, like, special guests match the audience. Like, Taylor had only white people except Ice Spice, and that was during a time she was dating an openly racist man who had been talking about Ice Spice.
In a negative way.
But Beyonce brought out, like, other, like, black and queer singers, openers, brought out Meaghan Thee Stallion in Houston, and all Meg could do is stand on stage and go, "I love you, Beyonce!" Like,
and she was like, "I love you too."
Yeah. It was like allowing those artists to shine, and also like people who help keep that community going. It wasn't just like people who are featured on my songs and are also all white. I don't think Taylor's otherwise
Taylor
collabed
brought
with a
out
person
Taylor
of color.
Lautner because she put him in a music video and he did a flip. And I was like,
Or
what
X-Man.
is happening right now?
Yeah, it's wild. And when you think about the people that Beyonce has collabed with or even performed with, like the Dixie Chicks, like it just shows her range. Like Daddy Lesson, oh my gosh, that song, that's a good ass song. And it's like, you know, Beyonce could do R&B, she could do hip hop. That girl could rap. She could do so many things. Like, and that just goes to show you have to be like a triple, quadruple threat to get anywhere as a black woman.
Whereas, she's featured on a Coldplay song.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
You have to be quadruple threats to be like anywhere in this world as a black woman. But Taylor can walk on stage and hit some notes that I think I could probably hit. And or my mom.
Yeah, you're a good singer.
My mom's a great singer. And still be like applauded for it. And it's like it's wild.
The double standard is what frustrates me the most. Because people on Twitter especially, I've seen, you know, bring up screenshots of critics of Beyonce, and it's like, well, if she did this, well, if she did this. She's been in this industry for 25 years. What more do you want out of her? She covers, like we've said, she covers every genre. She covers so many different listener groups, and like, she's going to hand you the world, and you're still going to be like, well, but Taylor, but anybody else. It's like,
it's just wild that you don't have to be
the
most vocally gifted, the most talented for your music to have random popular appeal, and for you to just get all the recognition that others are deserving, you know. Just some like stats so we can kind of like, so like y'all listening know I'm not insane.
Hints with the numbers.
Yeah.
Let's just see here. This is something that's not album of the year related, but Victoria Monet won Best New Artist. She is the first R&B female artist to win since Alicia Keys in 2002.
What?
So the Grammys is telling me that since 2002, there has not been a black R&B singer worthy of Best New Artist.
A lie.
I
A
disagree.
lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since the inception of the Grammys in 1957, only 11 black artists have won Album of the Year. Only 11. Since 1957. Again, Michael Jackson has only won one in his career. And it was insane because he didn't win for Bad, which was like
the greatest, probably the greatest album of all time.
one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we can look at it closer, you're looking at Mariah Carey, you're looking at like so many people who have not won Album of the Year. Also, the last black woman to win Album of the Year at the Grammys was Lauryn Hill, for her album Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which is one of the best albums in the world. Will probably go down in history as one of the best albums, like, period. It's so good. So very deserved. I don't think they could have not given it to her at that point. It would have been wild. But that was back in 1999.
God damn.
So the Grammys have decided, and they're telling us, that at no point in the entire 21st century has a black woman ever been or ever put out a body of work, an album that has been the best of the year, of any of the years.
Which is like so upsetting because I think there's more albums by black artists in general, but especially black women. I listen to the whole album more than like other artists.
You know, like they're the ones I probably consume the most nowadays, and it hurts that whoever these people are at the Academy don't think are deserving.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it's wild because you can look at the list, like Aretha Franklin, like so many of the greatest R&B singers or just black women in the history have not been able to win that award. And it's like, you're telling me that in the last decade or so, no one was good enough,
and only one black man.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something to think about. Food for thought. I wish I can find this tweet that kind of goes into it more. I was so prepared, and then all of a sudden, I lost one. But yeah, and also looking at it too, we just had hip hop just celebrated its 50th birthday. And there was no kind of representation or celebration at all at the Grammys, which was, again, very suspect. But yeah, there was nothing. And the awards for the hip hop categories and the R&B categories and the rap categories or whatever, they were all done on the carpet before the show, so they weren't even televised. Jeez. So we didn't even get to see Victoria Monet accept one of her awards for Best R&B because it was deemed not worthy of being on the show.
Grammy is so white.
Genuinely. So here's some of the times that black artists were nominated for Album of the Year and have lost. Most notably, which is what I'm sad about, is Whitney Houston's self-titled album, Whitney Houston, in 1986. It lost to Phil Collins that year. Wild. Control by Janet Jackson lost to Paul Simon one year.
Control is one of the greatest. Yeah. One of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah. This one was even worse. Whitney by Whitney Houston, Bad by Michael Jackson, Sign of the Times by Prince, all lost to Joshua Tree by U2.
Boo.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that makes me
Isn't that insane?
bad.
Bad. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and Prince all lost that year in 1988 to
What were we
U2.
doing? What was going on?
Fucking U2. Come on.
It's
Oh,
yeah. It's actually it's infuriating.
that's bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just like it's time and time again where it's like, what in the world? Mariah Carey, Daydream, which is one of the best albums ever. Another Michael Jackson, Past, Present, and Future, Book One, that lost to Alanis Morissette. It's wild. I mean, there was some tough competitions. I do love Alanis Morissette, but
yeah,
I mean, come on, it's wild. Yeah, so I don't think Prince has ever won Album of the Year either.
I was gonna say, how do you have a lineup like Michael Jackson, Prince, and Whitney, and none of them get it? Like,
upsetting.
how are they nominated? And it's not a three-way tie between trying to figure out between the three of them who it could be. I don't understand that.
So just to put it out there, some people who've never won Album of the Year: Janet Jackson, Tina Turner, Toni Braxton, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, Donna Summer, Patti LaBelle, Anita Baker, Nina Simone, Gladys Knight, Dionne Warwick, Mary J. Blige, Aaliyah, Mariah Carey, Erykah Badu, and you could literally go on for days. And these are some of the people that are some of the most influential in music history that went on to be snubbed by the Grammys.
That's
the 11 Black people who did win a Grammy were Stevie Wonder. He won it Album of the Year, I think, 3 times, which is still less than Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift now has more Album of the Year Grammys than Stevie Wonder. So that's something. Again, Michael Jackson only won once. Lionel Richie won once. Quincy Jones, Natalie Cole, Whitney Houston won once in 94. Again, Lauryn Hill was the last one in 99. Outkast won in 2004. Shout out to Outkast.
Yeah.
Ray Charles in 05. Herbie Hancock, 2008. And then John Batiste in 2022. Those are the only Black people who've won Album of the Year since its inception in the 50s.
I mean, that says it.
Yeah.
So it's not more about like how wild it is that Taylor is winning these. The concern and the anger comes from people, just artists in general, doing everything possible to put out a great piece of art and continually getting snubbed by one of the most prestigious awards that you can get in music. And they're just constantly moving the goalpost for who is the best and who isn't the best. And if you look at Taylor Swift and look at the awards she has and compare it to any of the artists that I had named, it's no comparison, right? And so it's just a little concerning that it's taken this long, honestly, for us to kind of call it out and for Beyonce to be like, okay, now come on, it's Beyonce. I think after that, we were all just like, now, let's not.
Yeah.
It was like a group kind of like, but it's really concerning. This is something that's like not okay, and it's just it just seems like they're playing in our face as Black people, because what else is it but racism, you know?
And I think there's like what I keep thinking about is the fact that like it's the rich people stay richer and the poor people stay poorer. Like if you don't get those wins, like it's hard to continue to grow as an artist. It's hard to get, you know, signed for new records. Like if you have those wins behind you, getting tour dates, selling out venues,
Credibility.
like, yeah, the credibility is so important in the industry, I feel like, for making that name for yourself. And it's hard because, you know, I know we keep talking about, like, specifically the SZA Taylor thing, but it's like SZA's management team screwed her over with her tour, with her album. And it's hard to see that because of the racism and, you know, the systemic practices, whatever you want to call it, throughout the award shows, like that's going to hinder SZA moving forward. It's great that she was nominated. It's great that she won stuff, but without those bigger wins, it's she's not going to have the leverage to be able to go, no, look what the fuck I did. So let me get paid to do it. Like, give me the money to make the albums that I want to make. Give me the money to do the tours that I want to do. Give me more tour dates. Give me bigger venues. Like, if you don't have those behind you, you can't then make those arguments. And it takes away negotiating power for continuing on to do your art. And so it makes me sad that, like, so many Black artists, specifically women, who already have to deal with being women and then being Black on top of it and having to prove themselves twice over compared to like Black men, and then have to sit and try and negotiate and go, no, but like I would see SZA in every tour day that I could. Like, she should be at bigger venues. She should be selling out arenas. Like, she's good enough to do so. And Taylor doesn't need that anymore. Taylor's made her mark. Clearly, she can sell out big stadiums. She did it. Cool. But, like, other people deserve to have that negotiating power. And I think that the award shows really give that. And being able to say, like, you know, oh, here are the tour dates for, you know, 5-time Grammy winner SZA.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And it gives her power to continue to do what she needs to do, and shows that like, she's obviously good at what she does. And I think that that's what hurts when I think about, like, the long run of careers for Black women, is because they get snubbed, then they don't have that negotiating power, and then they're just stuck where they are, which is bullshit.
I mean, you can look at Victoria Monet, who recently won a couple Grammys. She has been in the industry, which is why she won a Best New Artist award, which is insane because she's been in the industry for like 10 years. She's written for some of the most famous artists. She's written a ton of like insanely chart-topping songs. However, it took this moment for people to kind of take notice of her because she won these awards, because she won the Grammys. And I can guarantee that her tour prices aren't going to be the same because she was touring in tiny venues. And I 100% guarantee that her tour prices are not going to be the same. And the stock is going to go up. She's going to be in bigger arenas and things like that. So it makes sense as an artist creatively, even though she has all this success as a songwriter, and comes from having all these different albums and EPs coming out. Now she can actually do what she want to do what she wants to do for her next big project, and be given the money to do so because they're going to be backing her because she has the credibility. She can prove that she can bring awards to the label, and the labels are going to pump more money into it to get more awards.
Yeah.
But then you look at SZA. Oh, sorry, Kaylee.
I was just going to say really quick, because I was going to bring up Victoria as well. It breaks my heart, though, because the consequences of her winning are people now attacking her because she won over their faves in the category, over their white faves in the category. And
yeah, I don't get that, because I'm a huge Noah Kahan fan. Like, that was probably between the new Hozier album, the Noah Kahan album, and SOS were my most played albums last year. I was so excited for Victoria. I was like, cool if Noah wins, but when they called Victoria's name, I was like, fuck yeah. Like, let's go. Yeah. Let's do it.
Like,
there's no point in like...
They still can't stand to see a Black woman win. And
it hurt the last Black woman to win was in 2002.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's like, and it hurt too because some of the people are like Ariana Grande stans, and it's like Victoria has been part of Ariana's crew for like almost 10 years, like almost her entire time in the pop industry.
Mm-hmm.
They're best friends.
And you're upset because a white man didn't win. Like,
like you should be upset that Victoria didn't get her flowers years ago, like she should have. Like that's what you should be mad about, because if she got her flowers when she deserved to get them years ago, I mean she deserved to get them now, but like if she was given that before, then maybe your fave would have won, but you know she still deserves her flowers, and that's totally valid.
It's such a like double-edged sword, because like we want to watch them win, but then more people expose their ugliness too. It's like, just let them have a fucking win, man.
And again, coming from what you said, Meaghan, with SZA, like she was the most nominated artist for the Grammys, and she only won 3 awards, and they were all kind of in the traditionally Black category. R&B based. So that's something that, again, looking at Mariah Carey, who's been nominated 34 times, and has only won 10, you know, most artists don't have the career that Mariah Carey can have and does have. And so this is kind of their only chance to prove to the label and to the people that they deserve to, you know, function as an artist and make money. And sadly, you know, if SZA was a smaller artist and didn't have such a dedicated fan base, aka us, you know, she could have fallen off afterwards. But thankfully, you know, she got her 3 and she's gonna get more in the future. But yeah, it's just wild because she was the most nominated of the entire night.
The math just ain't mathin'.
And won mostly off-camera awards because they don't air a lot of the R&B stuff. So, absolutely insane.
Sounds like a lot of hoopla.
Sounds like a lot of hoopla, right? But yeah, this is like no shade to Taylor or, you know, any of the white artists out there, but it is very important for people to know their history, especially in February, which is Black History Month. It's important to learn about the history that the Grammys have had with Black artists, especially Black women, and understand that we're not just being like bitter Bettys that our fave didn't win or that Beyoncé didn't win when she should have all the other times. But this is also something that's like systemic and going on not just on the Grammys, but we see it during award season every single year. So it's just being frustrated at the system and frustrated that these like living legends that we have right now, that people have looked up to and admired for years and will continue to admire far after they're gone, are not being celebrated properly as they should. Like, you look at the names I just said, Aretha Franklin, you know, these are Diane, these are names that people instantly know and connect to. Their icons.
Hall of Fame legends.
And they were not accepted due to racism in the Recording Academy. So something to think about. It's not just about Taylor Swift. I'm sorry. It's about Black people and Black women in particular as a whole being treated as lesser and not being worthy enough to win one of the biggest awards of the night, which they deserve.
It goes back to the idea of like intersectional feminism, and I know that we've talked, and we could do a whole other podcast episode on Taylor Swift's performative feminism, because I don't think that she is as like feminist as she wants to claim to be, or as her team tries to claim her to be. But like that's the point that I think we're trying to get at, is that it should, like, a win for Black women is a win for women, and we shouldn't be pitting women against each other. But it's so hard when the Swifties specifically are just a team of white women who try to burn down anyone who stands in Taylor's way for anything, and try to make everything, you know, like Courtney talked about, trying to make Taylor just a victim all the time. Yeah. And it's like, but she's 34 years old. Like, at some point, you've got to fight back, and you've got to, you know, no matter what your management team says or your bodyguards say, like, I know that there was a whole thing, I don't know, now we're getting into the politics stuff, which I don't want to get into because that's going to a whole other can of worms. But, yeah, like, during Black History Month, go listen to some Black female artists, please. Diversify our music taste, because there's fucking good music out there that doesn't all sound like Taylor Swift.
Yeah. And there's a lot of amazing Black alternative out. Like, there's not just Black people doing rap, hip hop, and R&B. Yeah. There's so many really good alternative Black artists, so many cool artists that do just a ton of different genres and genre bending. And they deserve recognition and an audience as well. So,
it's it makes me think really quick of last year at the Oscars when we saw Jamie Lee Curtis win Best Supporting Actress in a role that she was like barely in a film that was mostly Asian people. Yeah. And like, especially for this topic, of course, like, beating out Stephanie Hsu for Best Supporting Actress was like a sham. But also, Angela Bassett was in the category, and she's never won an Oscar. But
she has an honorary one.
But she has an honorary one. And it's one of those, like, okay, you want to give her flowers, but not really. And that, I think, is also bullshit. It's like, oh, we're honoring her while we still have her, and she's amazing. And it's like,
and it was due to the backlash.
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, oh, it's because everybody says you should have got this, so, like, here you go. It's like, no, but she's earned her place. Like, exactly like Courtney said, respect them while they're here, but also make sure it's the right kind of respect. You know, consume their art now.
Consolation prize.
It's so easy to see through just, like, the performative stuff of, like, oh, like, look at us. We love Black people. It's like, but do you, though?
You know what? You were
as soon as it's March 1st.
Shunned. Yeah. It's like, maybe you were shunned back in the day. Maybe it was racism. So here's your Oscar now. And it's like, no, you wouldn't have done it if there wasn't so many people coming after you saying that, hey, Angela Bassett is one of the best Black actresses, if not best actresses in the world. And she deserves her fucking recognition and celebration of her art. And then you wouldn't have, like, if people didn't come out and say that, it wouldn't have been a thing. And so I'm happy that she is an Oscar winner. However, it was very performative, and it just wasn't as valid as it should have been. I'm gonna just kind of, like, in my head say it's for love. What's love got to do with it? And just
there you go.
Fair.
Just rewrite history in my head.
And I think that's important. Like, as we all go forward, and, like, the people listening, we should be showing up for our Black artists as much as the Swifties show up for Taylor. Like, we're not trying to shade and cause a whole ruckus with the Swifties, but, like, show support and be loud for the Black artists, specifically the Black women who have had to fight tooth and nail, who haven't been, 5 steps ahead from the get-go,
Yeah. And I honestly think it's important too with Megan Thee Stallion reaching amazing lengths as a female rapper. And a lot of fan bases came together to help her get that #1 spot.
As an independent.
As an independent artist. And it's so exciting. And just looking at what is happening for her. Obviously, Taylor is 10 years older than Megan, because Megan's 24 and Taylor's 34. She's 10 years older.
Megan only 24?
She's only 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's been through, I know, right? Every time I think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not Megan Thee Stallion.
No.
I am. No.
You are.
Period.
You are.
In name alone.
Yeah. But like when you think about how different someone like Megan Thee Stallion is treated and someone like Taylor's treated and coddled.
Especially when you know like what Megan's had to go through to get to the point that she's at currently. Like the fact that we were talking about the other day that she was like writing music, performing, doing shows while finishing her fucking college degree.
While her family passed away in front of her.
And she got shot.
Yes.
Like
she was assaulted.
She's been traumatized more than some people are in their entire lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
just
in the last
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is still continually having to deal with harassment from other rappers out there. Looking at Fabio Foreign, who just came out and did an interview saying, where's the, it's just like demanding that they show, for her to show her gunshot wounds and it's like, dude, the fragments are that he's in jail for a fucking reason.
Yeah, like he was convicted. Like,
yeah, and she didn't do it. She didn't press charges. The state did. Let's not. But just kind of looking at how much hate that she gets as a black woman and as a tall black woman too, which is wild because she's one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Stunning.
And just looking at how much he's not allowed to make any type of mistakes, but Taylor is allowed to be coddled and infantilized. And she's 10 years older than Megan.
Yeah.
Just
that's wild. Look how black women are treated in comparison. Like let's not do this. Let's rally and support these artists when they are being torn down. And let's try and like build a fucking force field of like support and love. Let's not do this.
Consume and share black art. Like
I just looked
so
it up.
Much space for it.
Megan Thee Stallion's birthday is the same day as my brother's, and she's actually 28, not 24.
Okay, I was thinking she was like
she's
a little bit
born
older.
February 15th, 1995. So next week. So everybody go buy Hiss and stream Hiss on the 15th for Megan's birthday.
Yes.
If you somehow haven't already bought it, buy the clean version or something. True. Do whatever.
The clean version.
I mean, hey, whatever you got to do to keep her on the charts, keep supporting a woman who's like deserving and creates good art. It's not just that she happens to be a black woman. I mean, we could do that anyway, but she also creates amazing fucking art like a lot of other people in her circle. And yeah, we got to keep supporting that because then they will keep making it.
100%.
Love me.
Should we wrap up?
Probably. Otherwise, we're gonna go for another hour. Just talking.
I know. We can talk about this all for frickin' day.
Y'all can tell it's been on our minds literally since Sunday night. I mean, my TikTok page is like basically anti-Taylor at this point. Yeah. It's been a very interesting conversation to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like hopefully, some good comes out of these conversations. Like when it happened at the Oscars and that whole thing, they said that they were going to be committed to diversity and like changing things. So hopefully, this sparks enough outrage where the Grammys thinks about, goes back and kind of redoes how they calculate and the metrics behind Album of the Year or just other awards to make it more equal. to every artist. Doubtful, since, Beyonce is already, that was, a pretty big blunder with, I think Renaissance was probably the big one after that, because it was just like, okay, now you're just messing with us. But yeah, hopefully it inspires some type of change, or it inspires someone out there, one of you guys, to, listen to something that you've not listened to before.
If you've not listened to SZA, I would recommend it.
There's so many good ones. There's so many good artists.
It will take over your life in the best way.
Yeah, facts.
And honestly, if anyone has recommendations of music, movies, podcasts, books, something we should consume, share it.
Let us
share it with us.
Roomies book club. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We always love new suggestions. So anything that we might be missing, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can find the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at AWW We also have the podcast on YouTube in case you'd like to listen there instead. All of the past episodes have been posted already, so everything's caught up. And that is And We Were Roommates Pod on YouTube. You can find me on social media at Meaghan's Murder Movies, it's actually M Murder Movies, so that's M as in Massacre, Murder Movies on Instagram and Twitter. I've been posting a lot on my TikTok recently, just kind of having fun experimenting with that, mostly horror content, and that is Meaghan's Murder Media on TikTok. So yeah, you can go check that out. Where can they find you, Courtney?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, which is iCourtneyAnnette. They can find me on Twitter at iCourtAnnette. They can also find me on TikTok. I think it's iCourtneyAnnette. If it's not, it'll be fixed. They can also follow my blog, which is courageouslycourt.com. And that has all of our links there as well. So if you are interested in any type of mental health or self-help type of posts, that is what I do. What about you, Kaylee?
Yeah, you can find me across platforms pretty much at Kaylee_Rainsdorf. I've only posted a couple videos on TikTok, but I posted a January reading wrapped if anyone is interested in sharing their what they've read so far in 2024. I was just thinking we should make a playlist for this month. Put some Black artists on a playlist and share it.
I'm on it.
Some of our favorite songs of all time. What the hell?
Let's put the entire SZA album on there.
I was just going to say, really, everything.
And Control.
Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore 7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a miracle we don't have any shared playlists.
I was just going to say, how do we not have shared playlists after all these years?
That's weird. I have so many, I love making playlists.
Let's go.
Well, and I know you guys usually always make a girls' trip playlist whenever we actually get together.
Oh, true.
So
I do have at least one of those saved. Yeah.
Yeah. I brought a couple.
Anyway, yeah, maybe. So, we'll post that and look out for if people want something new for their work days or commutes or whatever. But yeah, keep an eye out. We're keeping it consistent so far, 2 weeks in a row of recording. Ooh. Hopefully, I think we figured out a 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off stitch. If there's any topic recommendations you guys have, let us know. Anything you want us to cover for Black History Month or any other important topic ideas that you think we could debate. I guess we don't debate. We could converse about.
I don't know. We don't argue about anything.
We all are one single Spider-Man pointing meme.
If you have any roommate stories too, they can reach out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do a terrible roommate reading one day. That was kind of our original inspiration for the pod. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for hearing us talk like we normally do. Hopefully we will catch you again next week. Just keep surviving, living another day. It can be hard, but that's life, you know?